Welcome back to Let's Play Higurashi Meakashi. Man, that took a while to load up, like literally over a minute. Kai! So, now that I can actually have the charger in, we can do those lengthier recordings now, can I? Yes. Which page am I on? Oh, yeah, page 2 now. Where we left off, Shion revealed her true identity, and we got a tip, which is yet another notebook, page 29. Satoshi, but is that supposed to be writing? It looks like, I don't know what they're called. You know those kind of ink things, which has a shape on them, and you just place it on this ink, and then you just go, and it makes a shape and shit. It's like they did that, only it's a kind of line. They just went. I mean, what's up with that? I can't see anything distinguishable about that. Unless she's got really small handwriting. Oh, Satoshi-kun was smart or very lucky. Or maybe it wasn't him. The police found nothing at the crime scene to indicate his involvement in the murder. Yet Satoshi-kun was still a prime suspect. Considering his home environment, he had a strong enough motive. He had no alibi. The police had everything other than physical evidence. It wasn't surprising that Oishi took a chance. He probably didn't expect me to step in, but what I did was too little to avert his suspicion of Satoshi-kun. Oishi believed that Satoshi-kun did it. He was waiting for Satoshi-kun to fall apart and confess. That's what both Oishi and I were thinking. Why is there a line of nothing when it goes between that? Maybe it's because it's okay, well, that's how it is, isn't it? If you write a paragraph, you just sometimes you'll skip a line to kind of be okay, paragraph over, let's go down a bit more so it doesn't end up being a complete wall of text. Although this looks like it, well, it's kind of faded as well. What's up with that? Maybe it's the posterized effect. I wonder if there's even anything written on that, because it clearly took a picture of some book. But that hypothesis was destroyed later on. I'll not talk about it now, but Oishi's theory will be disproven and the police will be thrown into shock. A question comes to mind, that is, who saved Satoshi-kun? I can only think of the possibility that the Sonozaki family invented the culprit. Huh? It's definitely gotta be Shion's one, isn't it? Yeah, it must be. But the way I was written at the end sounded a bit odd. The cops were smart enough to separate us during questioning, which he didn't come to talk to me. His aim was Satoshi-kun and nobody else. I got a young cop who just talked about ordinary things. He must have been trying to ease me into the interrogation. When I realized that, the clumsy way he spoke began to frustrate me. Is Satoshi-kun alright? I don't think Oishi really bought my testimony. He must have been trying to get Satoshi-kun to confess in spite of that. All I could do was pray that he'd keep quiet. The phone on the desk rang, and the cop picked it up. This is Kumagai. What? Alright, I understand. Right away. He hung up and told me something had come to... someone had come to retrieve me. Looked like Satoshi-kun had to stay. Were they going to continue the interrogation just because he had nobody to pick him up? Although maybe I should have been worrying more about myself. The hag had probably heard about me by now since I revealed my real identity to the police. I couldn't hide any longer. I was going to receive some sort of punishment. I had no idea what she'd end up doing to me. The degree of punishment for a traitor is always severe in the world of Sonozakis. Ooh, you don't even know the half of it. The punishments must be carried out. Punishment must be carried out if it's to protect the family's reputation. It's carried out no matter what. Maybe I should kiss my pinky finger while I still can. I asked the young cop just in case. Hey, did you know in America if a condemned criminal gets arrested in a state which has banned capital punishment, they'll refuse to surrender him to the state prosecuting him if that state hasn't banned it? Huh? Maybe it was too difficult for him. He just looked puzzled. A glossy black car was waiting for me in front of the police station. A few men from my dad's office bowed to me. It's been a long time, Shion-san. Where's Kasai? Kasai had been helping me ever since my escape from the school. They wouldn't allow him to walk free. Yeah, Shion. I mean, I get that was your last kind of line of defense strategy, whatever the fuck you want to call it, to save Satoshi. But Kasai's gonna get caught up in this as well. How's Sis doing? Does she have something to say about this? We were only told to bring you to the main house. Please ask her when you get there. Just saying that, he escorted me into the car. The men sat on either side of me. Obviously, they didn't want me to escape. Speaking of Satoshi-kun, I looked back at the police station. Hold on tight, Satoshi-kun. I'll grin and bear it to you. The car started off roughly. It was never a good occasion when I went to this house, except when Mion and I were really small, oblivious of what the Sonozaki name meant for us. I'd been here only when I had to attend boring family councils. The car parked behind the house. The traders aren't allowed in through the main gate. I got out of the car. It looked like Sis would be the only person to receive me. I almost spoke to her casually, but her cold gaze froze me before I could. It's been a while, Shion. I never expected to see you other than on New Year's. Give me the chills to hear her greet me in that cold manner. It's a pleasure to see you again, Mion-sama. I feel overjoyed to have the chance to see you other than on New Year's. I responded, trying to sound likewise. Our leader is deeply upset. I wonder how you'll explain yourself. I have nothing to explain. I had no excuse. I'd escaped from the school solely because I couldn't stand it there. That was all. Shion, come this way. Everyone is waiting for you. Mion escorted me and others followed. We went to the garden, not into the house. As we passed through the huge yard into the woods, I realized where she was taking me. Oh, remember what she mentioned? When we were little, we were told never to go near these woods. I had a vague idea of what was in the back of them. I'd heard there was a hidden entrance to the underground torture room, where they used to punish the enemies of the family. The more hideous rumors I heard about the family, the more credible those rumors seemed. Well, I wasn't completely certain about any of that. I never expected to see the torture room for myself. We came to a concave clearing in the middle of the woods. I saw a metal door at the bottom of it. The door reminded me of a bomb shelter. That's probably what it is, really. Well, could be. So this is the underground torture room, huh? I was surprised to hear my own voice. My own voice was trembling. Okay, so this is the underground torture room, huh? It made me realize that I was more scared than I thought. Nobody answered my question. This very air felt tense. According to the family rules, one of the twins must be eliminated. Was I finally going to be eliminated? I realized I had been underestimating my punishments. That's the frickin' crazy shit, man. I hadn't been aware of the real terror until now. I just thought I was. Beyond the steel door, the air had an intimidating smell. This really was happening to me. I shouldn't allow myself to give in to fear. I felt like saying something rude, but my lips were dry, and my fingers were fidgeting. I was escorted through the narrow hallway and down a few sets of stairs. There I saw another huge steel door. So this was the place. It was a spacious and utterly odd-looking room. with very distorted sound effects. The room had two sections that looked completely different. What the fuck are they doing? Ripping up sandpaper? One side looked like a lounge. I don't see nothing that resembles a lounge. I saw several high-ranking members of the family council sitting on cushions there, looking expressionless. Is this the punishment? It's just like punishment will rip up sandpaper and it'll annoy you. Ooh. Play the ceremonial drums of punishment. The other half was tiled as if in a large public bath. That was already puzzling enough. And there were those things. To be honest, they had captured my attention from the moment I arrived. I noticed them even before I saw the lounge and tiled space. I just didn't want to accept that they existed. I couldn't stand straight. I almost dropped to my knees, but I couldn't. Two young men had been holding me by the arm since I got here. Ooh. Are those bear traps? Or is there something else? Kinda look like, I don't know. All this stuff kinda like it's all faded into the background so well you can't make out what the fuck anything is. Except these, they kinda look like bear traps. There were oddly shaped things hanging from the wall. I was just refusing to recognize what they were. I knew exactly what they were called. That's what they were called, yeah, they're called I see. I understood that those eerily shaped objects were torture devices from hell. Damn fool, how dare you return? The hag sitting at the front of the lounge intimidated me in a horrid voice. Remember in, like, Matsubushi, we saw, like, the faintest bit of, sense that she actually has some form of humanity in her, but from this perspective, she seems like the devil, pure evil, doesn't care. She kept cursing me for a little while, but she was so incensed that I could barely tell what she was saying. I knew what she was trying to say, though. She was trying to say, distorted sound effects! The hag was willing to forgive my escape from the school. Once I revealed my identity to the police, she had to step in. Since I had disobeyed the family rule, she, as the leader, was forced to punish me. Moreover, there was one thing that bothered her more than anything else. The fact that I covered for Satoshi-kun. The Hojo family had been seen as traitors to the village ever since the dam conflict. Satoshi-kun is still considered one of them. She couldn't accept that I was connected to her. To me, this was a bit unexpected. The escape from the school the hag had put me in. All the while I'd believed that was what she was upset about. But in fact she said that she was the most uncomfortable with my connection with Satoshi-kun. I couldn't believe this. Of course I knew that Satoshi-kun's family was persecuted for their betrayal. But I didn't think that Satoshi-kun was also burdened with that responsibility. Well, I don't know. Well, it's clear to even Shion that Satoshi obviously was the one who killed the aunt. But it's clearly obvious that the hag, I suppose, also knows about it. He has nothing to do with that. I understand his parents were orchestrated, but he shouldn't be. Shut the hell up! The hag interrupted me with a shout which made me cower in fear. She continued slandering the Hojos and said that Satoshi-kun was a cursed child. I started feeling pissed off. I wonder how that's written in Japanese. We gotta do that. It's lagging on that, so you know what? Fuck it. I'll hold off on the whole looking at it in Japanese thing. What did he do to deserve this? What was he being blamed for? It was too late when I realized I'd said that out loud. The hag looked furious. I'd obviously upset her. But I started to repeat myself to make it very clear how I felt. What are you saying, you old hag? Everything you spouted is nonsense. Ha! Who the hell do you think you're talking to? Shut the fuck up, let me finish. Ooh, shit, man. I shouted loudly to silence the hag. What the fuck do you know about Satoshi-kun? How could you talk about him like he's some pest when you don't even know anything about him? I know how sweet he is. You don't like him because he's a hojo. How fucking stupid is that? Is even your brain archaic or what? You hate the fact that Sonozaki is with a hojo that much? That's not just stupid, that's beyond stupid. Boy, I never expected to feel like Juliet. Ha 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 ha. My voice became hoarse from shouting. My face was messy with tears, so I didn't feel like putting a stop to my emotional explosion. I was all too aware that I was doing this just to overwhelm my fear. The hag was glaring at me while breathing heavily. I glared back at her as fiercely as I could. Eventually, I realized that her sticking point was my relationship with Satoshi-kun. She wasn't only upset that I had a mere connection with him. That's probably the hag then. I see. Looks like Mion mentioned that too. Or maybe that was... I don't know. It was as though Mion was wearing a mask. She didn't budge under my penetrating glare. That was what the hag was really unhappy about. The fact that I was in love with Satoshi-kun. I don't give a shit about his family background or my own. Yeah, I'll admit that I'm in love with him. I love Satoshi Hojo-kun. I love you so much. Is that so wrong? Do you need a reason to love somebody? I could see the relatives shaking their heads in turmoil. Among them I saw my mum. She must have been trying to protect me. But even she wouldn't look at me. Instead she looked silently at the floor. Did you guys in the back hear me? Am I wrong? You know how sweet Satoshi-kun is in an instant if you bother to get to know him. How can you put him down without... Mion held out a hand to silence me. Then she slowly walked in my direction. That's enough, Shion. I understand what you wanted to say. Mion put her head close to mine and whispered. Shion, I know how you feel, but you can't go back after coming this far. You have to pay for what you did. What did I do? Why me? That's ridiculous. Shion. Mion's face turned cold again and she calmly told me. You're probably right, but this is Hinamizawa and we are Sonozakis, so I'm sure you understand. We are the leaders of the three families, and you are the twin sister of the successor, Mion Sonozaki. Yet, I interrupted her. We haven't agreed on that matter ever since I came back. You're full of this reputation shit. Hinamizawa, the Sonozakis, so what? I don't give a fuck about... Listen! Mion interrupted me just like I did her. How many people did you depend on to start your new life in Okinawa? Chills shot through my spine. Kasai-san is in the cell at the back. Why Kasai? I knew why, of course. The moment I got caught, those who helped me were destined to meet the same fate. We were all subject to the punishment of betrayal. Maybe my punishment would be lighter than what they'd be going through. Kasai and Uncle Yoshiro must have been treated much worse than this. Everybody who helped me was falling victim. I know that you've prepared for your punishment, but have you ever thought of the consequences that Kasai-san and Uncle Yoshiro will have to face? My head rapidly cooled down. My aggression was all used up. I should be able to bear whatever punishment they bring on me, but I resented the fact that I'd be putting the people who support me at risk. Shion, apologize to Granny. If you do, the others won't have to suffer. Alright? But, Mion, did I really do something wrong? Is any of what I did that bad? The moment Mion learned that I wasn't willing to apologize, her expression turned cold again. She turned her back to me and returned to the lounge. I talked back to the hag in a really harsh manner. I told her that I didn't do anything wrong, yet I had involved many people to who I owed so much. It went without saying this was my responsibility. I was the sole person to blame, and no fault lay with them. Yes, Kasai and Yoshiro-san were blameless, just as Satoshi-kun was. But then, as if she read my mind, Mion turned around and gave a slight nod. It was possible that something was going to happen to Satoshi-kun, on top of Kasai and Uncle Yoshiro. Wait, sis! That can't happen. Satoshi-kun, I mean, nobody else should be punished. Please forgive them! What is it, Shion? Tears rolled down my cheeks. I no longer cared about my pride. Sorry, I was wrong. Please forgive me. I should have said what the hag wanted to hear. Yet she still looked unsatisfied. Maybe that wasn't too surprising. I had just denounced her so badly in front of the relatives. She wouldn't forgive me so easily. Just then Mion spoke as the successor. So, Shion, how do you propose to pay for this? Pay? What do you mean to do? What do you want me to do? Nothing could be scarier than being told to pay up while standing next to horrid-looking torture devices. I was completely terrified. I couldn't move from trembling. Mion saw that and whispered to our grandmother. The hag nodded. Mion summoned some young minions and gave them an order. They removed one of the torture devices hanging on the wall, then set a table in front of me and put the device on top of it. What is this? It's a tool for removing fingernails. Do you know how to use it? No way. I shook as I stared at the tool. It looked like a giant nail clipper. You probably put the part that looks like a beak between your finger and fingernail, pulling them apart if you squeeze the handle. Ooh, God. The chills ran up and down my spine when I imagined that. Each fingernail represents one of your responsibilities. Shion Sonozaki. No matter which one you choose, you must remove 3 nails yourself. 3. One for Kasai, one for Uncle Yoshiro, and the last for Satoshi-kun. It was a fairly reasonable number. Will you really not punish the others? Promise me. Please let them go if I do this. This is a punishment, not a negotiation. If you don't like the procedure, I'll do it! Just give me a second, I'm doing it! I put the device to my little finger while shaking badly. Ooh, if my fingernail was shorter, it would have been harder. The metal beak captured my little finger beautifully. The subordinates then stabilized my left hand with a different restraining tool. That seemed reasonable because my finger would slip out if it weren't restrained like that. As the subordinates buckled up their leather straps, I realized that this was really happening, and there was no escape. Somewhere in my mind I'd been thinking that they might forgive me after just gesture alone. I shouldn't have been so naive. The emotions I'd been holding back appeared in the form of tears and kept rolling down my cheeks. It was like my feelings were being squeezed out until the very last drip. Something even more horrifying followed this. It was the silence that awaited my next action. So, what should I do now? One of the subordinates pointed to the handle and told me to either squeeze it or hit it. He recommended that the latter would be easier to make it quick. Man, so it's kind of like, I don't know, like wax kind of stuff where it's just like, get it over quickly, only much, much, much worse. I've never had that experience, the wax thing, I don't think. Or, of course, the nail thing. That sounds, just, It's like, say for example, you get your finger jammed in a door or something like that. That freaking hurts, and I imagine this is even worse than that. Well, obviously. You gotta think 3 fucking times. Nobody said anything after that. There was nothing to hear but the sound of my sweat dripping onto the floor. The onlookers were staring at me silently, waiting for me to execute my punishment. Both the hag and Mion. They were also anticipating it. I could refuse, but that meant I wouldn't be paying up. This punishment exists to offer payment in exchange for the safety of those who help me. If I refused, they would suffer. I started breathing heavily. I knew that if I did this, the others would go free. This was, if you thought about it, quite a good deal. If it weren't me, it wouldn't be just free fingernails. If it were Kasai, he'd have to sacrifice his little finger or something even worse. I knew that. It was my selfish desire to get away from that school. Why did Kasai have to suffer because of that? I knew that. Why did Uncle Yoshiro have to suffer just because he provided me with a job? I knew that the hag and the other relatives still hated the Hojos, so I didn't know what they'd do to Satoshi-kun if I didn't do this. Would they bring Satoshi-kun here and tell him to do the same? Would they tell him to remove his fingernails in exchange for forgiving me? Imagine if you sound like that. He'd do it. He'd sacrifice himself with no hesitation in order to save others. My sweat dripped onto the table through my nose. I'd do it, yes. It was only 3 fingernails. Might hurt a lot, but I wouldn't die. The fingernails would grow back. It wouldn't even leave a huge scar. Does the whole fingernail get torn off? I mean, I know fingernails grow, but if you tear the whole thing off, would it even grow back? I shouldn't be afraid. The punishment was minimal because it was me. If I refused to do this, the others would be punished much more severely. I couldn't let that happen to Kasai, Uncle Yoshiro, or Satoshi-kun. I was the only one who should be punished, so I just needed to bear the pain. I wasn't just breathing heavily anymore. I was also moaning faintly, ready to scream at any moment. That's right, make it quick. This wasn't torture, so I didn't have to prolong the moment of pain. I should do it in one swift blow. That way my pain and fear would be minimized. I raised my right arm. Quickly, quickly. The pain would be lessened if I did it in one stroke. It'd be much more painful if I messed it up. Ah! I held my breath. I felt as if my body was frozen. I was choking. The chills crept up my spine with distorted sound effects. Don't be afraid, Shion. Fingernails are just a tiny fraction of the whole body. Just 1 square centimeter. I could do this. I could bear it. Ah! I smacked my hands onto the handle, right onto the handle of the device. Sensed the noise through my body instead of through my ears. At the same time, I felt a pain I'd never experienced before. A moment later, the pain pulsated with my heartbeat. I clenched my teeth. I felt like my teeth were cracking. I tightly shut my eyes until my eyeballs got squeezed up. The pain wouldn't fade, rather it swelled with my blood pressure. I felt as though I was bloating like a balloon. Timidly I opened my eyes. I found that my little finger wasn't really drenched in blood. It was bleeding, but not much. Certainly not enough to explain how much it hurt. My fingernail was open just like the hood of a car. Ooh! I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It was overwhelming. It occurred to me that I'd only done 1 out of 3. Did I have to repeat this 2 more times? Oh! Did I have to remove the nails from my ring and middle fingers as well? At least give the... No, that'd make it even worse, giving the frickin' hag the middle finger. I looked at the hag and at Mion begging for mercy, but they were just silently staring at me, as if the show had only just begun. I saw no hint of mercy in their eyes. They wouldn't be changing their minds. Since they said free, it had to be free. They wouldn't forgive me until I removed 2 more fingernails. Mion, look, isn't this enough? It really hurts, you know that. You see that in my eyes, don't you? It really hurts. Mion answered, still wearing a cold look. You can't keep going, Shion. She didn't mean that it was sufficient. What she meant is that the others would have to take the remaining punishment if I didn't. I knew that. I really did know. I'll do it! This is easy! You see this! This doesn't scare me, this doesn't hurt. Ah! You're getting off on this shit, you bastards! I quickly moved the metal beak and set it on my ring finger, and smacked it with no hesitation. Instead of making it quick, maybe I was just rushing out of fear. I'd messed up. Ah, the worst. The torture tool had clipped just the tip of my fingernail. The pain, however, was equal. I couldn't believe it only chipped it. Did I have to do it again? Did I have to continue removing the nail from my ring finger? That much pain again? Again? Shion. I don't want to do it! I couldn't bear it anymore. I started crying shamelessly. I can't take it anymore! It's too painful! Forgive me, please! I'm sorry, I apologize! I'm sorry, I'm sorry! I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry! But they didn't seem to hear my voice. It felt as though there was an invisible barrier between us. They showed no mercy, they were just here to witness this ritual. So rather than sympathetic, they looked amazed by my screw-up. Mion walked up to me and whispered to my crying face, Shion, there's just a bit more to go. Hang in there. No, 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 no! I can't do this, it really hurts, it really does! Mion shook her head, then signaled the subordinates. They came from behind me. They covered my head with something like a knit cap. It was a blindfold. One of them pinned me in a Nelson hold, restricting my movement. No! Stop it! No! I couldn't overpower the guy behind me. And then I felt something strange on my left hand. The other guy was doing something with a torture tool. He put the metal beak between my ring finger and its fingernail. No! Help me, Mom! Ah! My left hand was fixed in the finger that it had restrained, so I couldn't but protest anyway. You know, this is the answer to Watanagashi, as I've stated a billion times. Well, that's an exaggeration, but I've mentioned it a number of times. If you remember how Watanagashi, just like, I wouldn't even say what the hell I'm even referencing. It's just like, when we get to it, whatever. I don't want to spoil too much, you know. So I'll edit that bit out again. Anytime I talk about Watanagashi in detail, I feel like I end up being whatever. My left hand was... I already read that. Believing that left hand was pressed down by his rough palms until it hurt, robbing it of the freedom even to tremble. They had no hesitation. It was made very clear to me how merciless people could be. Robbed of my vision, all I could do was clench my teeth against the pain assailing me. If there was anything I was thankful for, it was that he was well practiced and had ripped off both of my fingernails cleanly. Pain and screaming might induce narcotic chemicals in the brain. While screaming, I started losing consciousness. Ooh. Ooh. I thought they were gonna do it multiple times then. He'd be like, hey, only the other two. Higurashi when they cry. Higurashi when Shion cries in pain. Because of fucked up ritual shit.